Every legend has two sides, the story everyone knows and the truth hiding beneath it. This is one of those cases. For decades, enthusiasts and classic car experts have passed down myths about this vehicle. How it started, what went wrong, and why it took years to earn the recognition it deserved. But what if I told you that most of what you've heard isn't quite true? We're talking about the Triumph Stag. This car was meant to be a game changer. It had the style, the pedigree, and the backing of a major manufacturer. But from the very beginning, it was plagued by missteps, rushed development, reliability issues, and even global events that were way beyond its control. It's a well-worn phrase, but this car truly went from zero to hero, though it took a good 20 years to get there. At launch, it seemed destined to fail, thanks to a mix of poor quality control, lack of proper development, inadequate maintenance training, and, of all things, a war in the Middle East. But before it became a cautionary tale, it was nothing more than a bold experiment by a visionary designer. In 1965, a request was made, one that would change the course of automotive history. Giovanni Michelotti, an Italian designer already known for shaping some of the most stylish British cars of the era, reached out to his longtime friend Harry Webster, Director of Engineering at Standard Triumph. His request? A Triumph 2000 sedan. Michelotti wanted to use it as a base for a new styling project he was working on for the upcoming Geneva Auto Show. Now, Webster was intrigued, but he had one condition. If he liked what Michelotti came up with, the company would get first dibs on the design, and it wouldn't be shown at Geneva. So a 1964 Triumph 2000, one that had already seen its fair share of action, even serving as a support car for Triumph's Le Mans Spitfire team, was sent off to Turin, where Michelotti got to work. What he came back with was something that Webster and the Triumph directors absolutely loved. The design was sleek, sophisticated, and different from anything else on the road. By the summer of 1966, the prototype was collected from Italy and driven back to Coventry. And just like that, a new legend was born. Interestingly, the name it would eventually carry wasn't planned. It started as nothing more than an internal code name during development, but when it came time to choose a final badge, nothing else quite fit. Now here's where things get even more ironic. The front and rear styling of this new car was so well received that Triumph decided to use those same design elements when updating the 2000 range in 1969. But thanks to delays in launching the new model, the redesigned sedans actually hit the market before this car did, making it look as if it had copied them, when in reality, it was the other way around. And that was just the beginning. What happened next would define its legacy, for better or worse. When the prototype arrived at Triumph's Canley headquarters, it looked nothing like the Triumph 2000 it was based on. This was a sleek, two-door convertible, designed to stand apart. But underneath, it still shared the same suspension and drivetrain as its predecessor. However, there was a problem. Without a solid roof, the body flexed too much, causing a scuttle shake, that unsettling vibration you get when a car lacks proper rigidity. To fix this, Triumph's engineering team added the now iconic T-bar roll structure, strengthening the car without ruining its open-top experience. The plan was simple: spend 2 years perfecting the car and launch it in 1968. Sounds reasonable, right? Well, that didn't happen. The launch was pushed back another 2 years, thanks to a mix of financial troubles and corporate shake-ups. What happened? In 1968, Triumph was merged into British Leyland, the newly formed giant created by Leyland Motors and BMC. With the company restructuring, budgets were tight and development slowed down. But that wasn't the only issue. The biggest debate? The engine. When it hit the streets in 1970, this car was packed with features that were ahead of its time. We're talking independent suspension all around, servo-assisted disc and drum brakes and power steering, all standard. The steering column, fully adjustable, both up and down and in and out. It even had electric windows, a cigar lighter, and tinted glass. All the little luxuries you'd expect from a premium Grand Tourer. Buyers could choose a 4-speed manual or a Borg-Warner 3-speed automatic, catering to those who preferred a relaxed cruising experience. And of course, there was the styling. That sleek profile, that distinctive rollover bar, originally designed to stiffen the chassis, not just as a safety feature, despite what some motoring magazines claimed. And with both soft and hardtop options, it had the versatility to match its European and American rivals. But here's where things take a turn. Despite the praise from the motoring press, the car didn't fly off showroom floors. And in America, the market it was designed to conquer, things went even worse. The launch was plagued by warranty claims, and just as it tried to find its footing, the 1973 oil crisis arrived, making fuel-hungry cars like this less desirable. Overnight. Sales tanked, and by 1973, it was pulled from the US market entirely. Back home in the UK, reliability issues started piling up, and a reputation for mechanical failures earned it an unfortunate nickname, the Triumph Stag. But here's the thing, it wasn't entirely the car's fault. The 1970s were chaos for British Leyland. Strikes, industrial disputes, and quality control nightmares meant that even basic manufacturing processes weren't being handled properly. Some Stags left the factory with casting sand still inside the engine block, and when owners eventually had to tear down their engines, they found literal cups of sand in the oil. No wonder the main bearings gave out. And yet, despite all of this, the story wasn't over. As if things weren't bad enough, there was another hidden flaw that no one saw coming. It turns out the engine block was cast iron, while the cylinder heads were aluminum, a combination that, at the time, wasn't fully understood to be a disaster waiting to happen. Over time, these metals reacted with each other, leading to electrolytic corrosion inside the cooling system. If owners didn't use high-quality antifreeze with corrosion inhibitors all year round and flush the system regularly, the engine's waterways and radiator would slowly clog up with silt. And when that happened, overheating. Overheating led to blown head gaskets. And a blown head gasket? Well, that meant the cylinder head had to be skimmed, and the entire cooling system needed a deep reverse flush to prevent the whole thing from happening again. To make matters worse, the water pump was positioned high in the V of the engine, meaning that even a small coolant leak could disrupt circulation and send temperatures skyrocketing. This was a fundamental flaw that wasn't caught early enough, and by the time people figured it out, the damage to the Stag's reputation was already done. Standard Triumph's sales team originally predicted 12,000 units per year, but reality was far from that. Over 7 years, they barely managed to sell double that amount in total. 1973 was the best year, with 5,500 units sold. By 1974, sales had dropped to 3,442. In 1975, they fell further to 2,898. By 1977, in its final year, only 1,800 Stags rolled off the production line. At these numbers, it simply wasn't viable for a volume car manufacturer to keep it going. So in June 1977, production officially ended. But here's the twist. Despite everything, the overheating issues, the bad reputation, the jokes at its expense, the Stag didn't fade away. To this day, it has one of the highest survival rates of any classic British car. An estimated 46% of UK Stags still exist. More than 35% of the global production run survives. For a car that was once labelled a failure, that's a staggering achievement. And it's all thanks to die-hard owners, enthusiasts, and parts suppliers who refused to let the Stag disappear. Even after British Leyland gave up on it, passionate Stag fans worked to fix the car's flaws. Through engineering improvements, modern parts, and better maintenance, they turned it into the reliable, prestigious Grand Tourer it was always meant to be. And today, the Stag Owners Club Tooling Fund Limited is keeping the legend alive, remaking discontinued parts and ensuring that this Italian-styled, British-built icon stays on the road for generations to come. The Triumph Stag may have struggled in its early years, but it's now stronger than ever.